What's shaking? Y'all know I'm baking. Calzax is back on the mic after a bit of time. We took a little break, but we're back now, better than ever. During my break, I've been playing the shit out of this game, as well as some of my other friends and stuff like that too, so we've been really trying to learn this game. There's a lot to it. This game is going to be around for a long time, as I've said in the last video, so I'm going to try to teach you guys as much as I can about this game. Today we're going to start with talking about Prestige and Martial and how you can take advantage of this, and also just like how to gain more prestige, because that's kind of confusing at first. This is going to be more of like a beginner intermediate level guide. If you're comfortable with Prestige and Martial in this game, it's a little different from the last, so you might be less comfortable than you expect, but either way, we're going to talk about a boatload of information, so let's dive into it. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications for future videos. I'm going to give you guys 5 seconds. That's all it's going to take. It's that easy, guys. Thank you. Alright, so we're going to jump into a new game just to show you guys kind of who's good to use for Martial and stuff like that. I would recommend one of the easiest guys you can go with is the Duke of Bohemia. So we're going to go ahead and start with him, but I can show you a couple others. If you want to go with one of the older times, like the 867, maybe like Ivar the Boneless or Bjorn Ironside, someone like that, should be pretty good. But again, Duke of Bohemia is pretty solid. I also want to have a few better technologies just to show you guys, so let's go ahead and hop into it. Okay, as you can see, we have Bohemia here, and we have a lot of stuff at our hands already, because we're a little bit more advanced since it's 1066. We're already a Duke. It just means you're in charge of a duchy. Let's go ahead and start by just jumping into the lifestyle, because it's one of the first things you want to choose before you unpause anyway. As you can see, our Duke here, Duke of Bohemia, he has already had a martial education. He also has a martial of 19 already, so he's pretty good at this. We'll get 30% more experience if you click on it. Yeah, that's the one we're going to go with today. You can see he's already on his way down the Overseer line. This is a very useful line. I mean, honestly, any of these are good. Getting those little traits at the bottom, which we'll discuss in just a moment, are super useful. Let's start by looking at the left side. As you can see, we have 3 different focuses that we can choose from: strategy focus, authority focus, and chivalry focus. I like to think these are kind of linked to the trees, where strategy goes with strategist, authority goes with overseer, and chivalry goes with gallant. But you can really pick any of them and go down any line you want. This is really up to you, to be honest. Whatever fits your situation. I'm just going to click authority for now, but I do want to show you guys another one in the diplomacy that's useful for prestige, actually. If you click the middle one in diplomacy, that one will actually give you an extra prestige per turn. So if you're really hurting for prestige, you can definitely go this way. Just keep in mind, it will give you diplomacy points instead of martial, and right now we're focusing on the martial, so you just keep that in mind. It's just how much you need prestige, really. Let's go ahead and look at some of the traits. The first one I want to talk about is Overseer. So this one's a super solid one. We're close to it. As soon as we put those next 3 perk points into this, we'll get Overseer, which is Martial +2, Stewardship +2, and Control Growth Factor plus 50% a month. This is really useful if you're trying to expand your empire, because you're going to be losing control in all the new counties and stuff that you take. And if you start taking a lot of stuff, this is just going to help those counties and vassals not rise up against you as easily. There's also some super solid ones in this Overseer line. So what you need to make sure you make use of is Dread if you go down this Overseer line, and that's one of the reasons I picked Authority Focus, because you get that Dread gain plus 20%. I'll show you guys where you can find out how much Dread you have later, but to me, if you can get your Dread up, which is that Serve the Crown, it'll increase your Dread, but you can start gaining prestige from the Dread using these other perks and stuff. So it's a solid way to go. It may not be the way you want to go, because you do have to make some, tyrannical quote-unquote decisions to get the Dread sometimes. But it's just one way to go down the martial line. Okay, strategist. This is diplomacy +1, martial +3, enemy fatal casualties plus 25%, and you can cross water without advantage penalties. This is a super solid line. I really love the strategist line, because again, you don't have to have that focus on Dread if you don't want to choose those tyrannical things. And also, this tree is really nice because there's a bunch of different perks that just make your military and army better, like makes them move faster, makes them more efficient, things like that. So it's just good for your army. Next, we'll look at gallant, or we'll try to fucking look at gallant. God damn it. I gotta go change my tooltip delay. 1 second, guys. Okay, now that we got that fixed. So gallant will give you martial +2, prowess +4, and monthly prestige plus 20%, and attraction opinion plus 20%. So this gallant one, again, kind of goes in line with the chivalry. I think it helps you essentially become a better fighter and commander on the field. You can still be in charge of your troops. Let's say you're the commander of your army, and we can dive into this a little bit more later, but if you're the commander of your army, you have a certain score that's based on your martial and prowess and things like that. So you could still be a strategist and not necessarily fight in the wars. Like, I had an old king that I can show you guys later that I was using as a commander, and he was a super strategist guy, but his prowess sucked because he was old and he had one leg. But he still was amazing to have and win me wars just because I'd bring him on the fights. Now, if you want your player to actually be a really good fighter, you can go down the gallant side of things, and that will increase your guys' prowess. It'll increase your knights, things like that. That's more of a line for if you want your champions and your main character guy to be super solid fighters. You want to go down that route.
Attention gamers. You ever have that feeling when you're gaming that you're missing something? Well, I think I might know what that is. I think you're lacking your gaming gear. Like this shirt here. For shirts like this one and other fun gaming gear and awesome apparel and things like that, jump over to arraygaming.com and use promo code CalzaxTV for a 10% discount to all their merchandise, all their gear. And thank me later. That feeling will go away.
Okay, let's go ahead and look at the character screen a little bit. I want to show you where this is where you can find your dread. Also, you can see your martial, things like that, and your prowess over here. This is how you look at that kind of stuff, so you guys know. In the top right, you can see your prestige and what you're gaining per time passing. Okay, there's different levels of fames within these. Essentially, your prestige adds up towards this level of fame. There's either established, distinguished, illustrious, exalted among men, or the living legend. This is based on your one character, and all your prestige adds up towards these levels. And so if you spin prestige, it doesn't actually take away from the level of fame. It will only take away from your level of fame if you go negative prestige at any point. So just keep that in mind. It's really useful. We'll dive into more of why this prestige is super damn useful, especially if you're going to war. But just give me a moment before we get there. Next, I want to show you in the top right, we also have this renown. This is also kind of based on your prestige as well, but this is more of a dynasty style resource. So essentially, your renown will carry over between your dynasties, and the different levels in this are base origins, obscure, insignificant, noteworthy, reputable, well-known, significant, famous, glorious, fabled, and legendary. So again, it's very similar to the level of fame. It's just like it carries over between. If your character dies, you're going to lose that level of fame, but your level of splendor is going to stick around. And this will just give you bonuses with later. So let's say my guy, King of Bohemia, dies, and I go to the next heir. If my level of splendor is higher, I will just start out with more prestige and stuff like that already, which is pretty handy. So, okay, let's go ahead and look at the military view a little bit. So this is how many levies you have at the top left. You increase this just based on, increasing, you can build different buildings and stuff. I'll show you in a minute to increase these, or just increasing your land size, things like that. You've got your knights on the right. You can go down to men-at-arms here. With this specific place, Duke of Bohemia, it might be because I'm feudal, I can actually buy these different men-at-arms with money. I think if you're tribal, possibly. I know there's a way that these can be bought with prestige instead of money, but I think it's because I think it's if you're tribal, so that is unconfirmed. If you guys know, let me know in the comments. So as for men-at-arms, there's different styles of men-at-arms you can choose. There's different cavalry, there's different footmen, and there's even siege equipment. So if you're a big sieger, definitely get those siege equipment in there. But otherwise, if you go down the strategist line, you can actually increase the power of some of these. If you're fighting a bunch of cavalry, for example, you can throw your pikemen and go fight them. That will do better. There are benefits to using certain ones, so just be aware of this. It can be difficult to line them up perfectly, though. So I'd just say if you're sieging, make sure you have siege equipment. Other than that, it's kind of up to your style and what perks you choose. And then for knights, okay, this is pretty cool. You can increase your knights using the lifestyle things, or also just increasing your size of your realm. You can see the prowess of everybody on the right side. There, and also who they are, your brother, your heir, chancellor, things like that, your vassal and knight, stuff like that. There are certain people you want to allow to fight. There are certain people you do not want to allow to fight. So let's just say you've got some really low prowess guy. You're going to want to click the forbid button and not let him go to war, because they're going to get their ass kicked and killed. So let's just say it's your son and heir. This happened to me. I had my son and heir, and he was a decent fighter, but I led him into a battle, and he got his ass whooped, and he got his leg chopped off and things like that, and then his prowess was never the same. Granted, he became a fucking badass strategist after all that, because he couldn't really fight anymore. But that's a different story. I'd rather my people still be able to fight. So just forbid people you don't want that to get hurt, or that have low prowess. If they're not that important to you, though, if they're already a knight and things like that, just let them do their thing, I guess, allow. And if you really, really want them to fight, force them. And you can also switch out your commanders for your armies separately from this. This is just your actual knights that go along. You can also buy mercenaries here. You can buy them with gold. They're pretty large armies, so if you're really hurting in a battle or a war, you can do this. Okay, I want to show you some other things you can use your prestige on. So let's go to the realm tab, and as you can see at the top, you can see I'm a crown authority here. I'm a feudal duchy, and there's different levels at the top that you can spend your prestige to gain up. For example, you can get high crown authority later, which allows you to just directly choose your heir. It doesn't have to be your child or anything. It can be exactly who you want, which is really nice. I will dive into this more later because I want to show you the tribal side of things as well in just a moment. At the top right here, you can see your actual amount of levies as well as knights and the quality of your levies. Okay, so other ways to gain prestige, because we're just trying to throw out ways you can gain prestige, because I noticed in my first games that I was playing, I had a difficult time gaining this prestige. So here's the ways I did it. If you go to your decisions, one of the main things that you're going to want to do is call a hunt as much as you can. I mean, there are possible bad things that could happen on these things, but there's so many good things that can happen. You lose stress. It costs a little bit of money, but not too much, honestly. You should be able to save that up relatively quickly if you're not fighting battles. But you get chances at lots and lots of prestige. You get more bonuses if your guys like athletic and stuff, so just keep that in mind. Super way to get some extra prestige. Other thing, you do get some opportunities if you host a feast to gain some prestige, if I remember correctly, so this is another good option. You also just want to do this to keep your vassals happier, and since we're talking about a prestige martial style character, you're probably going to be fighting a lot of wars, meaning you're going to have new lands pretty often, and this is a good way to increase your vassals' opinion of you, because they're not going to like you very much if you're subjugating them, things like that. So as you can see, if I try to go declare war, I don't have any options here. It's because I believe it's because I'm feudal, so I just have to have claims. I need Casus Belli basically on anybody I'm going to attack. Okay, so here's where you can construct new buildings. This will add new levies and stuff. It generally costs money. It could cost a little bit of prestige sometimes, but it will add levies. It can allow you to even gain some prestige. It really depends on your place what you can add, but I would recommend constructing these buildings if you have the money, because it's going to increase your money. It's going to increase certain different things like the archer damage and stuff that you see there, heavy infantry damage, but it just increases your amount of levies, so smart thing to build. For the purpose of this video, I want to go back and show you kind of a tribal style place where you can really just attack a bunch of people. So I'm going to go ahead and load an old save of mine real quick. Alright, now we're on my King Fat Bitch II of Futbuckers. What I want to show you here, I've got some prestige to play around with, some money, some renown, things like that. Okay, so as you see, I'm a tribal authority. I have absolute tribal authority. I had to purchase all this with prestige. But it works a little bit differently being a tribal kingdom, especially with war. As you can see, I have not adopted the feudal ways. I would need to complete these things in order to do that. This is also just in 964, so it's a little earlier, like 100 years earlier than we were with the other King of Bohemia. Okay, so I want to show you guys some of the interesting ways that you can call wars. As you can see, I have a pretty large area here, and it's because I've been using some tribal ways of, declaring wars. So as you can see, if they have like a little silver crown on top, that means they are a duchy or a duke. As you can see, my guy is a king, so he's got a red crown on top. These just are an easy way if you look at the realm view to tell what people are. But let's go ahead and look at this. This is what I want to show you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this duke, and I'm going to act like I was going to declare war on him. I want to show you guys, first of all, this subjugation war. This is a super useful thing to know about. So I believe you have to you can only do this once in a lifetime. You might need an illustrious level of fame. I'm not completely certain about that, but I know you can only do it like once per lifetime. It costs 375 prestige, so you have to have some prestige to do it. But essentially what you do if you subjugate someone is you declare war on them, and if you can win this war, you will gain control of their entire realm, the entire duchy, because this is subjugation. Sorry, I shouldn't say realm. The entire duchy. Now, this is subjugation, so you will just essentially inherit their vassals, which are going to hate you, generally. So you really need to be careful about uprisings and their opinion and stuff after this. but this is a great way to get a lot of land. Okay, so now I'm going to go over to a kingdom, the Kingdom of Bosch. I want to show you this next thing. This thing is awesome. Invade Kingdom. Costs 1,000 prestige. Very, very expensive. You do need to be at least exalted among men to use this, so high level of prestige. But if you do this, it's the same thing as a subjugation, except on the kingdom scale. So you can see this entire Bosch thing is one kingdom. That would basically allow us to get control of the whole thing. So, you know, just be aware of this because it can happen to you, but you can also utilize this to gain tons of territory. And also because we're tribal, I want to show you some of the other ways that we can declare war. You can use some claims that I have, but also if you look at stuff by the faith view and you click on someone of a different separate faith, in this case I'm not Catholic, I'm Slovanskian, so I want to look at the Catholics. And you can see here I can either conquer duchy or conquer county, both for prestige. It costs prestige, very cheap amount. So I didn't even really have claims to this. It's just literally because they're a different religion, and I think that's because I'm tribal. So anyway, the other thing I was going to show you is if you declare war on someone of the own faith with you, you'll be able to do the same thing, conquer duchy, conquer county, but this time it's with piety instead of prestige. So very useful to know. I usually end up with a lot of piety right now because I don't know the best ways to use it, so that'll be a future video. I'm still learning about that, but one of the best things for martial purposes that I've learned is you can literally go to war with it for cheap if you go against the same religion. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've got going on today. I hope this video taught you guys something and helped you guys figure out ways you can make prestige, utilize it, as well as understanding martial. I want to go through a bunch more of the topics in this game, so please let me know what confuses you. Once again, please take those 5 seconds to like, subscribe, and comment. We love your faces, and we'll catch you in the next one.